The old man sat alone near the back corner of the diner for almost 2 hours before anyone finally noticed him. Most customers avoided looking at him. His clothes were dirty, his hands trembled slightly, and every few minutes he quietly asked for water because it was the only thing he could afford. But one waitress kept watching him. Her name was Emily Carter, 26 years old, overworked, behind on rent, and one paycheck away from losing everything. That night, Emily made one small decision that would destroy her career by morning, but completely change her life a few days later, because the old man sitting alone in booth 14 wasn't homeless, and he wasn't weak. In fact, he secretly owned the entire restaurant chain. Emily had worked at Sunrise Family Diner for almost 4 years. Double shifts, weekend shifts, holiday shifts, anything to survive. Her father's medical bills had buried the family in debt, and since her mother passed away, Emily carried everything alone. She barely slept, barely ate, barely smiled anymore. But no matter how hard life became, she still treated customers kindly, even rude ones. That's why her manager hated her. Richard Dawson only cared about numbers, tables moving quickly, bills getting paid. To him, customers were wallets with legs, and employees were replaceable, especially Emily. That night, Richard had already warned her twice. One more mistake and you're done. Emily stayed quiet. Then around 9:40 p.m., the old man walked in. The diner went silent for a moment. He looked poor, really poor. His coat was worn out. His shoes were soaked from rain. Several customers immediately looked uncomfortable. One waitress whispered, "He's probably homeless." Richard noticed the man too, and instantly frowned. But before he could say anything, the old man quietly sat down in booth 14. Emily grabbed a menu and walked over. "Good evening, sir." The old man smiled weakly. "How expensive is your cheapest meal?" Emily's heart sank. The man studied the menu nervously before pushing it away. "I'll just take water." Emily looked at his shaking hands. "When's the last time you ate?" The man tried smiling again. "I'll be all right." But Emily knew he wouldn't. So while nobody watched, she made a decision. 10 minutes later, Emily walked back carrying a hot plate of meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and coffee. The old man looked confused. "I didn't order this." Emily placed the plate down. "It's a mistake from the kitchen. They were going to throw it away anyway." That was a lie. She had paid for the meal herself. The old man stared at the food silently. Then his eyes slowly filled with tears. This wasn't just a hungry man. This was a man who wasn't used to kindness anymore. "Thank you," he whispered. But someone had been watching. Manager Richard Dawson. The second the rush slowed down, Richard stormed across the floor. "What the hell is this? You giving away free food now?" Emily lowered her voice. "I paid for it myself." Richard snapped. "You think this is a charity?" The old man looked embarrassed. "Sir, I can leave." "No," Emily interrupted. But Richard wasn't finished, right there in front of everyone, and he fired her. "Give me your apron and get out." The diner fell silent. The old man slowly stood up. "You shouldn't fire her because of me." Richard laughed coldly. "And who exactly are you?" The old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a black business card. Richard grabbed the card. Then his expression froze. Color drained from his face. Because printed on the card were 3 words: Charles Winston Holdings, the company that owned over 600 restaurants nationwide. The old man calmly adjusted his coat. "My name is Charles Winston." He was a billionaire. The man everyone ignored and was the owner of the entire chain. Richard started stuttering. "Sir, I didn't realize," Charles interrupted. "That's the problem. You publicly humiliated the only employee who showed basic humanity." Then Charles said the sentence that destroyed him. "You're fired." The next morning, Emily woke up terrified. No job. Rent due. Then her phone rang. "Mr. Charles Winston would like to meet with you." 2 hours later, Emily sat inside a massive office. Sitting behind the desk was the same old man, now in an expensive, tailored suit. Charles smiled. You look less stressed than yesterday. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside was a job offer, Regional Hospitality Director, salary $180,000 a year. Emily nearly stopped breathing. I'm not qualified for this. Charles smiled. I'm not hiring your resume. I'm hiring your heart. A week earlier, Emily was one paycheck from losing it all. Then one act of kindness changed her life, not because she expected a reward, but because she treated a stranger with dignity. You never truly know who's sitting across from you. Sometimes the person everyone ignores is the one quietly testing the character of everyone in the room.